Welcome to the Chasing Tone podcast. I am Brian Wampler.
I'm Max.
Max Jeffries.
Both of you.
Yes. And today on today's show, we got some cool stuff. We talk about where to put your EQ on a pedal board and why, and how that changes the sound of things. We talk about the advice we give to someone who's just starting out on guitar. And we also talk about our first piece of good gear, right?
Yeah.
All right, so with that, let's get into the show.
Question is, how do I use EQ on a pedal board? And why would I want to? What's the difference when it's in the loop? And what's the difference in using it in front of or behind distortion?
That's a good question. So right now, I have it set up. I have the guitar going through a tuner, and that going into the Boss EQ, and that going into our Plex distortion, and then it goes into another EQ, but that's for a different reason. And then it's going into, what are we running into? We're running into a deluxe reverb. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to demonstrate what happens whenever you put it in front of. Also, I'll boost the mids, and it's going to give you more of like what a tube screamer would do. I can also boost the level, and it gives you more gain as well. And we can even actually change the EQ and make it into a fuzz. So without anything is on, without any EQ on, just the Plex distortion, I'll let Max play my brand new smoking hot Ibanez RG350 MDX.
It's awesome. It feels like it's made out of MDF.
That's the
For you wood guys out there, that's like sawdust and glue.
that's a carpenter joke.
Sorry. That's terrible. It's been a while. We haven't had one of these.
It's a little awkward. My hands are a little sweaty.
Sweaty. I know. It feels like a first date again.
I know.
It's like we're going to snuggle after this.
This time, don't touch my butt.
Somebody's buying me dinner. Anyways, so without further awkwardness, Brian hit my tuner.
Oh, yeah.
My kill switch.
Yeah, your mute switch.
That's a make Max shut up switch.
Did you buy that lick at Toys R Us?
I did. As Fisher Price, my first lick.
All right, so let me boost 800K, or boost 1.6K and 400 just a bit, and let's see, that's probably about 12 dB or so at the most. So same thing. I'll kick on the pedal right in the middle of you playing. Here, so let me take some bass down. I've got the level all the way up. So that's probably a cool thing. Play like a chord without it. Turn on, play it. Now without it. So it adds gain.
It's true.
You like the way it feels?
Yeah, this guitar is definitely not known for tone.
It's known for A-tone.
A-tone is not a good one, but it does that tone very well.
Okay, so let's fuzz it up. So I'm going to increase all the bottom end.
You fuzz it up. Definitely fuzz.
Yeah. So and that's I've heard a lot of people ask about what's the difference between a fuzz and distortion. A big difference is the way that you make a fuzz is you make a bunch of bass distort, and then at the back end you take the bass out, so it's not too boomy. So that's really what I'm just approximating here. Is that a word? That's probably a word, right?
Approximating? Sure.
Yeah.
We'll roll with it.
Yeah. I just made it up. So if
Approximating. It's like hypothesizing.
that's a word too.
Yeah.
Sure. So anyways, we're increasing the bass on the EQ. I took out the bass on the Plex distortion because if I run it normal, look how boomy it gets. kind of big muffy that way.
Yeah,
Not
very
like
much so.
not like a straight up big muff, but that sort of fuzzy type of tone.
Put you in the ballpark.
Yep. So that's whenever you run it before it. Give me just a second. I'll swap the pedals. I'll put the EQ behind the plex distortion, and we'll do the same exact test. Cool. All right. So running the plex distortion with the same settings into the EQ. I'll do the same thing. I will boost the mids up about the same way. Take some. You're loving on my arm with that neck, aren't you?
Little RG love.
The little RG love. Okay, so I may have to ride the volume on the EQ a little bit because it's increasing signal, which may distort the mic since the amp will be louder. So that's what I'll be doing here. All right, so let's see. Without the EQ pedal.
I gotta hit my max shut up switch.
What are you waiting on? Okay, now with the EQ pedal.
It's like way different. It's like honky now.
Hey!
You gotta censor me again.
Hey, we are in Martinsville. Okay, so now let me do the same thing. Let me turn the bass up all the way. I'm gonna have to turn this level down. I'd probably clip the mic. Let me turn it down a little more.
It's like somebody put a blanket on your amp.
Yeah, it's basically the suck setting. You know what I
The
mean?
suck setting.
So
Between that and this guitar, that's a great equation for suck.
So, but I mean, what I like to do, like personally, it's all about what you feel like you're missing and what you want, you know. So, like maybe I actually want to drop some of that 800 hertz out. Maybe I want to add just a little bit more highs to it, maybe. Like like for example, if you're gonna play on the neck pickup, you probably want a little more highs to it, you know. And with the pedal on, it sounds like this. So, not that that's that much better.
You can really hear it in that bridge.
Yeah, the different sound. So, you know, if I was just going to be using the neck pickup, I probably would set up. I'm sorry. If I was switching back between the bridge and the neck,
Gotcha.
I would probably turn it off with the bridge, and with the neck, I would probably set the 6.4K up just a smidge, and that would give me a little bit of something in the neck, like single lines or something like that.
So like a...
Versus. So there's really like no set way you have to use it. It just is. I mean, it depends on the amp. If it's a really dull amp, that's a good trick to brighten it up. Is hit that 6.4K up a little bit. And other EQs have different points as well. So it could be. I don't remember the points on like an MXR off the top of my head, but let's say I probably would want it more around 8K or something for more like presence. If you're using an amp that doesn't have a lot of bottom end, then increasing the 100 a bit and the 200 just a smidgen does a ton of difference for something like that. But this amp, I mean, it's got quite a decent amount of bass, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, in the room anyways.
You can use this kind of the same thing. Like if you're switching between like single coils that sounded different, or humbuckers that sound different, can you use that EQ to kind of make it more homogeneous?
Yep.
So,
or even like if you got a Les Paul, for example,
Yeah.
and you're switching back between a Les Paul and like a Strat, two drastically different sounds.
Very.
You know, and so you may have the EQ set up differently, like for the Les Paul to make it work with the amp you're using or whatever.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? Or it could just be that you have a really sucky distortion pedal and you want to put some shine on it. And that's another way to do it, is just using an EQ after it. So anyways, that's how I would use an EQ before or after. As far as using it inside of an effects loop, it's basically going to be the same thing. So I mean, it's going to act pretty much the same way as we have here, assuming we're using a clean channel. If we're using a dirty channel of the amp, it's the same principle. So before the distortion is just going to kind of tailor those frequencies that get distorted. If you put it in the loop, it's going to act just like it does here, where you run it after the distortion and actually change the frequencies after they're distorted. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Okay.
What advice would you give a new guitar player?
Practice makes perfect. And like, especially like students I've had or that sort of thing, I get especially a lot of beginners that'll play like an hour or 2 hours straight, and they're so frustrated because they feel like they haven't made a lot of a headway. I tell my students, or just any advice in general, is 15 minutes at a time. Pick it up, after you get done eating your sandwich, 15 minutes. Wake up, play for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, 5 or 6 times a day is really a lot of focused practice.
That's good stuff.
Just hack at it,
Yeah.
Don't get frustrated.
What about the kid so let me ask you this question if you're just starting out. If you're like all gung-ho, like I'm going to be the next Steve Vai or whatever, are you going to practice 4 hours every night starting out, or do you think that's a good way to burn out?
That's a good way to burn out. I mean, I really do. Like, at least like for me, being a guitar player, and like I know my attention span's small because I can barely look at the camera while I'm talking about this. Is 15 minutes at a time. That's really, after 15 minutes, I'm like, oh my god. Like, how many YouTube videos have you watched? Like 15 minutes, you're like, oh, okay. Anything past that, you're fast forwarding parts, or you're doing this, or you're doing that.
Right.
15 minutes, concentrated practice, then put it down. Do anything else, non-guitar related, then come back to it.
That's a good analogy. YouTube videos, yeah. If you can't watch 4 hours of YouTube videos straight in a row, you're probably not going to play guitar for 4 straight hours.
There's some guy watching this podcast. It's like, Max is talking. We're going to fast forward this part.
He's looking at the timeline. Max answers this question. Damn. So I mean, I would. Yeah, that's great advice. I'm not like a virtuoso, of course, and like most of my practicing is because I'm practicing for like practicing my A and G chords, while I'm running through some effect or something, right? So like I tend to think don't worry so much about like what pedal you're using or what amp you're using. Guitar wise, I mean, as long as it's set up decent and plays decent, then you're in good shape. You don't want the action to be that high off the fretboard, so your $30 guitar probably isn't going to be your best bet. But I mean, like this was like $160 or something, right? So it's pretty expensive, but I mean it'd be just
cool enough.
Yeah, I mean it'd be just fine for someone starting out, and not that it has to be awesome. Ibanez from the '80s or whatever, but just something that plays decent. Don't worry about amps or anything. I mean, the truth is, like, okay, if I'm mimicking how I'm going to be as a very beginning guitar player, then I'm going to turn the guitar upside down. Let me turn off my distortion because that's pretty pointless for this exercise. So, I'm a beginning guitar player. I've just learned my first few chords.
You got the max shut up switch on.
I got the.
That's very nice.
Yeah, so that's my G chord. And then I also got the C chord. That's hard to do backwards. Okay.
It's nice. Got my gear shifter
Got
on.
the gear shifter, yeah. So, I mean, it's not. If I'm at that level, there is no pedal that's going to make that change any different. In fact, let's put on a $200 pedal and play the same thing and see what it does.
It's real nice. Wang, 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 wang bar.
Yeah, and then I got, like, let's do a bar chord. Let me think how to do this here. So, yeah. That's hard to do that way.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Jeff Healy style.
So yeah.
Got Roadhouse next.
So it's quite a bit different than if you're at a level where you're going. Whoops. That. I mean, not that I'm great, but I mean, if you're playing licks and that sort of thing, you're at that point your ear's probably gonna be developed enough where you're starting to hear the difference between a cheaper distortion or a cheaper guitar or a cheaper amp. You know what I mean? Something that's just doesn't have attention to detail that a higher end product is going to have. You know, so that's what I would say. Less Mel Bay, or less eBay, more Mel Bay.
Yes.
Yeah. I stole that off the gear page, by the way. So, next question.
What was your first quality piece of gear?
So, Max, what was your first good piece of gear? Guitar, amp, or pick, cable?
Honestly, it'd probably be my guitar. It's actually in my office. I'll have to get Bob to get some pictures of it. It's a 1997 California Series Strat. It was one of these like really weird Strats where they like painted in Mexico and the pickups are Mexican with a body and neck or American, and they came between the two factories and assembled it and realized it probably cost too much to ship back and forth. But I worked like all summer and saved up like every penny I had to get it. So
I'll start with my pedal, because actually this is one of the very first pedal I had that was good. It was probably my first decent pedal. So I'd had a lot of $30, $20 distortion pedals, you know.
yeah,
So,
some rock techs in there.
because Mom wouldn't buy me anything. Thanks, Mom. Wouldn't buy me anything expensive. So, you know, and I started playing like 7 or whatever. I got a picture we could throw up here too, when I was 7 playing. But anyways, I actually sold this to a friend and bought it back to him. And it's an old OD1, Boss OD1.
Those are cool though.
Yeah, it doesn't have a power jack. I don't know why.
Did you check it out?
But no, I didn't. It came that way. So I got it used off someone.
Replace your output jack there, or at least the nut.
I probably have the skills now to actually put another one in. I might try that at some point. I don't know. I'll have to look on the internet to see if there's any directions. So I'll do that.
Max, bring your soldering gun.
But you know, my first good guitar was, I think it was like a West Tone, which is like not that great, but it was like it was better than like the $80 guitar I was playing at the time, because it was like 180 or whatever.
Did you hit your brother with that guitar?
No, that was my acoustic.
Oh,
my
okay.
very first acoustic was like, you know, I was like 6 or 7, and I wanted a guitar for Christmas, and my parents, Santa Claus, brought me an acoustic guitar with this. Felt like it was set up more for slide because the action was so bad. So yeah, he made me mad, and I hit him in the butt with it and shattered it. And he was like 7 years older than me, so he didn't like. He just like lifted me up and like, don't ever do that again. You know.
Merry Christmas.
It was a great Christmas moment, let me tell you. That makes for scarring memories. But anyways, yeah. So let's see. Probably my actually first one is, it's not even over there. Darn it! It's my Fender Telecaster, my '52 Telecaster. So 52 reissue, and yeah, I was at what was it called? Mars Music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Remember that Mars Music?
It's Sam Ash now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was playing in a band, my first country band. I went from playing like rockier type college stuff, you know what I mean, to like needing
twangy stuff.
Yeah, because I'd moved out on my own. I'm like, I gotta pay some bills, man. And there's a billion country bands in Indiana. So I joined a country band and learned how to try to play some country, and so I had to buy a Telecaster.
There you go.
So, yeah. So, all right. So, hope you guys enjoyed the show. That's it for today. If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you send us an email at podcast@wamplerpedals.com. Please review this on iTunes. I know that it's kind of changed over the past couple months as far as what we've done. So, maybe review it again, or tell your friends to review it. Maybe have your mom review it if you've already reviewed it. And, yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, share this with friends, and send Max pictures of your first gear.
Sure.
Yeah, we can make fun of you. No. All right. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.